Welcome to the Calvin D Project, where we interview inspiring people who are determined to make a positive impact in the lives they serve. We hope that by listening to these conversations, you will be encouraged. So join us as we dive into the stories of people who are driven by faith, passion, and purpose. Right before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so you can get more episodes like this one. Dwanique Smith, tell me a little bit about yourself and your ministry.
My name is Dwanique Smith. Thank you so much for having me. I am a gospel artist based out of Oklahoma City. I started singing when I was about 3 years old, and I started putting out music probably when I hit 20, and God has really just been blessing me.
What would you say is your style as an artist?
I guess I fall under the category urban contemporary.
Okay.
However, I don't know if I necessarily have a style where I'm just kind of stuck to, because my music ranges. Something might be real CCM-ish, and then something else might be very rockish. So a lot of people call me like a little gospel rock star.
Yeah, I can see
but
that.
I don't really have a style per se that I would like to box myself in on.
Absolutely, I can see that. What would you say is your first big break? And tell me about that moment.
I guess me getting nominated for the Rhythm of Gospel Award, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is it. I don't really look at nothing as a big break, because I take everything that I do serious and everything is important. If we have to say big break, I would say Rhythm of Gospel Awards, but I don't really categorize myself as having a big break, because I look at everything as important. And I know that sounds like girl boo, but I'm dead serious when I say
Absolutely.
I don't really consider having that big break moment.
You released Dwanique's Fave OKC Gospel Hits on your Facebook page. And I'd like to speak to my guests about relationships. Talk to me about why you released that list and your take on the importance of relationships in the indie gospel artist space.
I released that list genuinely because those are some of my favorite gospel songs from artists who are in Oklahoma City. I love Jordan Oliver. I love Gospel Cam. There's so many more artists, Rayshawn Anderson, Corey Weaver. I love all of these artists. I listen to their music, so I figured if people are listening to my music and they love what I listen to, maybe they'll like this too. I figured why not just share the love and put their music out there as well. Relationships are very important. You can literally burn a bridge with one person and that thing is a ripple effect. I didn't do that, put that list out for, I'm trying to, keep these relationships going and I'm trying to, kiss people's butt or anything like that. It was really a genuine situation of I really, really enjoy this music and I think the world should enjoy it too.
Talking relationships, and some people can relate to this and some people can't. But I've spoken to Jamari Cannon, I've spoken to Malcolm Christopher, and they both spoke on how impactful it was for them to minister with a sibling. I understand that you also have brothers and sisters that, as sometimes they're also into the ministry. How's it for you performing with your siblings?
I actually have 6 other siblings. So I come from a family of 7 kids. I make 7 or whatever. And I used to really, really enjoy singing with them. We're preacher's kids. So anytime before my dad would get up and preach, they would introduce us as the Smith 6. That was really like some of my favorite times in life. However, I'm the only one who stayed within ministry. Sometimes being a preacher's kid and being in church your whole life, you kind of get burnt out. And so I'm the only one who still utilizes my vocal ability and gifts to its full capacity with glorifying God. I do have like a play sister, Ariana. I love singing with her. Whenever you actually go through some things with each other and you see how God is moving in each other's lives, and then you're able to still get up and minister through those things or situations that you're going through, it's a different type of feeling. It's super powerful.
You have music that's very relatable, and you come off, as far as I can see, very relatable. And you have a certain edge to yourself. And I feel it's important to bring our youth to Jesus. As a singer-songwriter, have you been able to ensure your lyrics and your musical arrangements align with your values and principles within your ministry?
That's a really good question. So as far as lyrics and the musicality of everything, I'm kind of weird. So I see images before I see the music. Whenever I hear certain sounds and things like that, I see shapes and I also see colors. God pretty much paints out these pictures for me, and I'm able to look at those images and translate them into words. And sometimes God will just whisper those words to me and those melodies to me. That's pretty much how my lyrics and the melodies of things come. Is I guess I'm kind of weird, and God just decided, like, let me show this girl these pictures and we'll translate it. But as far as like living out those lyrics, like, I'm human just like everybody else. I still have my ups and downs and my flip ups, but it's important to know that it's okay to mess up every now and again, as long as you get back in alignment and that you correct that and know that Jesus is going to take care of it, and that you don't have control of anything that Jesus does. And so that's a really important thing, because I'm also a middle school vocal music teacher, and sometimes I have attitude. They be like, Miss DW, that is not how Jesus. I have a particular student. She be like, Miss DW, that is not how Jesus. And I be like, dang, like, this little girl corrected.
And they gonna hold you accountable. That's how.
Yeah, she does. Like, I have a couple of students who hold me accountable, but this one in particular, like, one day, I think I was getting on to them about something, and she goes, like, she tried to be slick and quote my songs, and she goes, ooh, Miss DW, I just went through it all this week. I gotta expose it. And I was like, girl. And so that lets me know, like, there really are people looking at me, or like whenever I'm going down the hallways and kids start randomly doing dances I do from my music video, like keep on blowing my mind, and doing this little stuff. I'm like, okay, they're paying attention to me. So I really do have to be mindful of living out the things that God wants me to live out.
Talk about colors. So let's talk about your song Colors. I saw the video, and I encourage anyone that hasn't seen the video to watch the video. And in my opinion, the song is creative genius.
Oh,
and the reason I say that is because when I was watching it, I was like, wait a minute. And then, like, I was hearing the words, but I was watching the video, and then everything just kind of came to me all at once. And then I kind of became overwhelmed with like some emotions and some thoughts. And so I want you to talk about that message and what the message that you wanted to send with the song Colors.
Yeah, for sure. So God had actually gave me Colors back in 2019, beginning of 2019, and I didn't release it until 2020. I actually didn't think I would release it because it was such a, what some people might call depressing or super sad, it's super heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy, yeah.
And so how that song kind of came about is people who have been suicidal have always gravitated towards me. And at the time, I had never been in that place. But I had family members who were super close to me who were suicidal. For example, my sister, my senior year of high school, I remember reading a letter from her. And she, I guess, actually did end up attempting, I found out later, but she has a tattoo with a semicolon and a heart that leads to a cross of her pretty much like acknowledging that deliverance and, okay, it wasn't over. Her, and then I remember being in high school, I remember going up to this kid and I was like, this kid's gonna kill himself today. Like, just looking at him, I kept saying, this kid's gonna, not even knowing anything about the prophetic or anything, but I'm like, this kid's gonna try to kill himself. I remember going up to him and I bought him lunch. And I was like, here you go. He was sitting by himself. And he was like, thank you. And then he said, I was going to kill myself today.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, like, that was kind of crazy. Like, he just came out and said it and I was already thinking it. That's just like one example. And then also my senior year of high school, we had 2 people, Lord rest their souls, who actually did commit suicide. I think one of them was like a month right before we graduated. She was supposed to be graduating with us. And then there was another one who was a sophomore who actually took his own life. And so I was just like, this is just surrounding us. And the lyrics just, one day I was playing the guitar and the chords, and the lyrics just started like literally melting out like butter. There's those moments and things whenever someone tells you, hey, I'm suicidal, hey, I want to kill myself. And I remember being in high school, people always saying, bro, they just saying that, they're not about to do it. If they were going to do it, they would have did it. They're not going to warn nobody. And I think it's important that you actually do listen to those warning signs. Even if someone's joking like, bro, I'm about to go kill myself. Like, no, there's something deeper there. There is a root there. They probably don't even fully realize it, but there is definitely like a spirit that is trying to manipulate their mind into thinking that. And so when I created Colors, those words just kind of melted off like butter. What it is the first verse is someone contemplating suicide. And then the second verse, that person attempts, but it didn't work, right? Then by the third verse, they're like, okay, I need help. So they're realizing I need help. So they go and they try to tell their friends and their family, and they kind of push it off. And within the Black community, they be real quick with, just pray about it.
Yep.
You can't just pray about that. They might need some help with praying over it, and you got to put some work behind those prayers. Mm-hmm. It was important to me that I incorporated that as well. The going and telling their friends and just pray about it, and them kind of brushing it off, which results to the ending of the song. Yeah. And by the ending of the song, you hear a gunshot, right? Right. And it indicates that, oh my God, that person took their life. That's how Colors came about, right? I'm having a concert, and there's actually another part of Colors, and it's called I See Now. That song will be sang for the first time publicly. And what I see now is, sometimes people try to commit suicide, for example, like my sister, and it doesn't work. And that then gives you the opportunity to get your life right and to become delivered from that spirit. What that song essentially does is, like, right after that gunshot, you hear like a little pause, and then you hear, I see the colors that you want me to see, so I'll breathe the air that you want me to breathe, 'cause I see the colors that you want me to see. And what it is that person recognizing that, okay, God, I attempted it, and I'm realizing that I don't have control, and I'm realizing that there is deliverance, and I am going to go ahead and take this next step, and I am going to breathe, and I'm going to just allow me to go through this process and help me get through this process, because I can't do it by myself. So that's how Colors came about. Oh,
that's amazing. I like that. I appreciate you giving me that backstory on that and explaining it all. I saw it and I was like, wow, this is necessary. And like I said, I encourage people, if you haven't seen it, to check it out. I think a lot of people need to watch it. It can help out a lot of people. And even, like you said, just realizing that root, people speaking to you, or that person that tries to call you, and you be like, I called them later, and you forget, you let a couple days pass by. And how many people have said, man, I wish I had picked that phone up, but again,
I remember in high school, that tore a lot of people up. Bro, I had missed calls from her. I had missed calls and messages. Mm-hmm. And it's not a good feeling. It is not a good feeling. So
let me know what you think when you hear these words. When I wanted to run from you, you reeled me back in. Those are some powerful words. Now, what do those words mean to you?
Okay, so when I wanted to run from you reeled me back in. Mm-hmm. What that means is, like, there's moments where we get off course and we get off track, and we're like, okay, I know God is telling me to do this, but I'm gonna go do this. And then you end up going to like this dead end where it's like, dang, I literally have no choice but to surrender to what God wants me to do. So let me just go ahead and go back and go with him. So when I hear those words, I literally see the image of me trying to go away, and God like,
There's always that something that happens and gets you like,
you feel me?
I know in the real, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know what I'm supposed to be, and that,
Like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't want to, so let me go try it. Yeah. And then God's like, psych.
I saw you perform Exposed live at the Rhythm of Gospel Awards, and let me say again, if you haven't had the opportunity to see Dwanique Smith in person live, I recommend and encourage you to go check her out. But because that experience is full of energy and it's full of artistry. Now, you won Urban Contemporary Artist of the Year and Female Performance of the Year. How have you been encouraged by that blessing?
Okay, so that was so crazy to me, because we were like, dang, we're nominated for 5 awards, and then we were like, okay, what are the odds we'll actually win? Let's just go for the experience and just enjoy it. We got there and they called my name. I'm like, bro, like, we actually did it. The funny thing about it is, on the Exposed music video, I looked at my friend KT, and I looked at Chris, which is my producer. I looked at them, I go, y'all, this song is about to take us into a different stratosphere, because I literally started seeing images, like God started showing me images of what was about to take place. But you know how sometimes you have that moment where God shows you something or tells you something, and you're like, okay, maybe I'm making this up, and you think you're being dramatic. No, his promises were, are, and have been, and are going to continue to be what he said. When we seen that we actually won, I was like, bro, like, I'm shocked. And then KT immediately, he goes, you remember you said this? And he was like, go look at the video. And I was like, yo. It automatically made me rethink of those images that God had showed me.
Yeah.
So.
That's one of my favorite songs, period, instead of yours. So I'm a fan of yours. Let me ask you this. What would you say is the backstory behind Exposed?
Behind Exposed? So, okay, let me see. Okay. I was in my room and I was playing the piano and I just kept going playing or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think nothing else of it because I don't really play the piano. So I went, after I finished playing, I went laid across my couch and all of a sudden I started going, keep on my mind. And I was like, that's catchy. Let me go in here and get back on the keys. And so I started trying to play it or whatever. And the words literally just came to me instantly. Like I wrote the words out. I ended up hitting my producer up, Chris, and I'm like, yo, we need to record this song this week. And he's like, okay. So I hung up with him. I called my homegirl, Trudy, and I'm like, Trudy, can you get on this track? She was like, send me the song. I sent it to her, and she was like, I love it. Like, I'm in. So I was like, okay, cool. So we ended up recording that song in 4 days. There really isn't that much of a backstory besides me being on the piano and God literally giving me those lyrics instantly. But I've realized that I now realize, like, since that song has been out, that song has become prophetic for me. And so I think what it was is that God was showing, like, giving me a seed, planting that seed of watch what I'm about to do with your life.
Mm-hmm. When you said that, and that song has been, as they said, shared with the nations or heard by the nations, because I understand that song has been heard Australia, Jamaica, Virgin Islands, UK, you know. Yeah. And how is that for you? How do you feel about that? That song is being spread like that and it's being heard, and a lot of people have been impacted by that song.
Yeah. I just say that every stream, no matter whether they're in Kingston, Jamaica or Dallas, Texas, has meant the world and it's literally meant the world to me, because it's like, dang, like this little girl from Oklahoma City who my siblings told me, shut up, you can't sing, like little stuff like that. It's like, dang, like God is really utilizing me. Like he chose me, one of the most jacked up people, to go and impart in these people's lives. I think that is the coolest thing of this song being heard all over, is that God is using someone as jacked up as me to be able to pour into other people's life and to give them a glimpse of hope and to prophetically speak into their life.
Absolutely. Now, your latest release, Through It All. Let's talk about that one. So what's the backstory on that one?
Through It All. So, oh, Jesus. I'm trying to think of how much I can tell you, because I wasn't going to release this until the Exposed experience.
Okay.
But Through It All came about during a very, very depressing time in my life. Earlier this year, I actually did deal with 2 miscarriages. That song was given me during that time. I remember him sitting in my room, dang, I don't want to do this. I don't even want to have to get up in front of people and fake it. I don't want to have to sing. I don't want to have to, like, I just want to be left alone, like, because everything started happening so fast. Mm-hmm. And I remember just going to get my guitar, because music is super therapeutic for me. So I remember going to get my guitar and I just kept saying, through it all, I will praise, good days, I will praise. Because I started recognizing that I can't just give God my all whenever I'm happy. I'm going to have to persevere and push through it all. In February, I actually ended up obviously I had sex, and I ended up getting pregnant. And shortly after finding out I was pregnant, I ended up miscarrying. I figured, okay, I'll just go and get on birth control. I'll be fine, whatever. No one's going to know that I slipped up and had sex again, blah, blah, blah. Well, shortly after that, my stylist, who was also very, very prophetic, she calls me at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the heck is she calling me this time of morning for? And she goes, God just showed me you being pregnant. Are you pregnant? And I said, like, no. Like, I just lost a baby. No, I'm not pregnant. And she goes, well, God told me to tell you that there's no contraceptive, there's no condom, no nothing's going to be able to stop this pregnancy. And whatever you're doing, you better cut it out now. And I was just like, okay, like, all right, I'm not even doing anything, just lying. And what ended up happening is I ended up thinking that, this is before reading the gospel, I ended up thinking that I had the flu. Went to the hospital. I'm in there sick as a dog. They come in there and they're like, good news, you don't have the flu. And I'm like, okay, like looking at them like, what is, I got COVID? Like, they're like, you're pregnant. And I was like, I ain't nobody pregnant, I'm on birth control. And they were like, no ma'am, we advise you to stop taking your birth control. You're pregnant. You're definitely pregnant. I remember sitting there like, what the freak? Trying to be sneaky on the birth control. Now I got to go back, tell my team, tell my parents that I'm pregnant again. I just had a miscarriage 2 months ago. What ended up happening was, I think like a week and a half went by. I ended up going to church on a Sunday, ministering. And when I went home, I wasn't feeling well. Took a nap, woke up, seen that I was bleeding, went to the hospital. And they were like, we're sorry to inform you that you are miscarrying again. This is a failed pregnancy. And I remember as soon as they said that, I just got quiet and I started thinking about the prophetic word that my stylist had gave me. I just, every time, God actually gave me another song after that, which I'm not going to tell you about yet, but through it all, attached with another song that came from those miscarriages, because those were very, very difficult times in my life. And it was pretty much just encouragement to me. And so, yeah, that's the backstory behind Through It All.
God is not a copy and paste God. Explain to
your research. Well, I like that.
Explain to the listeners what you mean by that.
When I say God is not a copy and paste God, for example, that was really more so for some of the traditionalist people who go to church and they're like, we got to shout for 20 minutes right here. You have to raise your hands right here. Service has to go this, that. No, God is not no copy and paste God. God moving that Sunday might literally be us just dwelling in his presence and him sprinkling his glory over us. It might not be us shouting all over the room with lashes falling off. It might not be that. It might be God meeting you right there at the door and the glory just be so heavy that you just can't even move fully into that room because it's just that heavy as soon as you step foot in. And so when I say God is not a copy and paste God, that's really what I was meaning whenever I had created that post. Yeah. But that also does apply to other things in life. What God has for me and my blessings might not be for you, because God ain't copy and paste. He's not about to give you the same exact thing and the same exact blueprint for your life. Right. That's for me.
There you go.
So
now, you were asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Talk about the response that you gave. And you spoke about it a little bit earlier. Say it again. You were asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? So talk about your response and your experience in assisting others to develop their craft and realizing their dreams.
I've always known that I wanted to be a singer and a songwriter. From the time of, I think the earliest dream I can remember, I was 4 years old. This God showing me on the stage and performing and singing and stuff. And at the time, I didn't know that I was going to be doing it at the capacity of glorifying his name, because I didn't really know what the prophetic was, or I wasn't that tapped into where I knew that God was showing me what he was about to do with my life. As a little girl, I've always seen dreams of me singing in front of huge crowds of people, and I've always known that I want to sing. And I knew that when people would watch me sing or hear me sing, I would always get some type of reaction, whether it was a tear, laughter, like a look at the homie. Yeah. And I liked how that made people feel. Like I kind of got like I don't know, it's like the weirdest feeling. I can't really describe it besides of like a high feeling, like where it's like, whoa.
It's an anointing is what it is.
Yeah, like it's indescribable to someone else who doesn't do it. And so I've always known that I want to be a singer. However, whenever I hit middle school, I remember being embarrassed by saying, I'm going to be a singer when I grow up. And so then I started thinking about, well, what's something else I can do that's realistic? And then I got to high school and I realized that I was super good at writing news articles and things like that. And so what I actually did, I went to college and I had put my major as music. But the first day of school, I went and I changed it to broadcast journalism or mass communications. Okay. And they were like, why would you do that? You know that you're going to be doing things, music, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, no, it's fine. I can always still do music. In my head, I'm still trying to be realistic. Like, this ain't going to happen. So let me be realistic. I don't want to teach music. And so what I did was I studied mass communications at Langston University. Shout out to the Lions out there. Studied mass communications, where I studied all things television, print, radio, and public relations. I did learn a lot that I was able to apply to music or whatever. Being able to speak, radio, interviewing, learning the balance of radio and how to work different programs, PR, learning how to, diffuse situations or lighting situations or just different things in that nature, learning how to utilize cameras and lighting. And so it was very it was a very strategic thing to do, but my intentions behind it were not really pure.
Right.
Because I was operating out of fear. To make a long story short, I always knew that I wanted to be a singer, but I allowed people saying like, you have to be realistic, play with my mind. And I tried to pivot. But how God is so intentional, he still ended up reeling me back into where I'm supposed to be, because now I'm a middle school vocal music teacher. And I'm out singing to the nations, like the songs that God has given me. And so those dreams and visions that God showed me as a little girl are actually coming out to play.
Now I'll ask you this, just out of curiosity, and most artists say all of them, but I'm going to ask anyway. Which of your songs would you say ministers to you the most?
The one that's not released yet.
Okay.
It's called Message 2523.
Okay.
And what it was, I'll just go ahead and just give it to you. But what it was during my miscarriage, I remember sitting on the yoga ball in front of my boyfriend at the time, and I said, I'm depressed, just like that, just randomly, word vomit. And instantly, God started singing in my ear. Like, it's the most angelic voice I've ever heard in my life, like, ever. So it became so annoying that it was just on loop. I was like, let me just, when something's in your head, you decide to just sing it so you can get it out of your head. But what I did was I ended up going and I created a voice memo thinking it's going to go away. And it didn't. Anytime I got into a moment where I felt like I was depressed or something was happening, that song would come up. Even like the other day, I was like, oh man, I'm peed off. Like, I was upset. And God started singing into my ear. Like, it was annoying. And so I'm gonna let you hear what it sounds like, actually, the lyrics. But what it is nothing is wrong with you. You are just fine. Nothing is wrong with you. I've got you. You are mine. Depression thought it won this time, but I had you in my soul. Just know nothing is wrong with you. I've got you. You are mine. I've got you. You are mine. Nothing is wrong. My darling, you're mine. And so that's actually my favorite song, because it's literally God singing to me. So
for the people that are in the trenches supporting indie artists with airplays on radio and attention on social media, talk about having the support of people like Ontario Richard, Robert Barnes. Why are those people so important for independent gospel artists?
Man, if it wasn't for Ontario and Mr. Barnes, my music probably would not have gotten out there like I would have wanted it to be. Ontario has been very, 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 very hardworking with making sure that he not only played my music, but got it out to different radio stations and things like that. And so I'm very, very grateful for you, Ontario. Thank you so much. And then to Mr. Barnes and even Mr. Dalton Anderson, I met them at the Rhythm of Gospel Awards, and they told me, we're going to play your music. And it was one of those situations where it's like, people say something and you really don't believe it until it happens. When they started doing it, I'm like, yo, like, these people stuck to their word. Like, we 2 days out of Rhythm of Gospel, and they are playing my stuff, and still to this day, they're still supporting, super big supporters. So again, thank you guys so much. Also, I love you guys so much.
All right. If you were going to put on a concert of independent gospel artists, what 5 artists or groups would you choose to perform at your concert?
Okay, that's a hard question. Because I know so many independent artists, they're going to be like, why you didn't pick me? But what kind of concert is this? Is this a festival, or is this like a legit just a concert? Where the concert at?
This concert in Dallas.
Okay, we in Dallas. Oh, okay. Blue Lucas Music Company. I'm going to pick Vernon J, Jordan Oliver, Sean C. Johnson,
and I tell you what I'm going to do. Now, I want to get you another interview sometime in the future. Okay. So what you're going to do on that 5th interview, we're going to connect back and you're going to give me that 5th person, okay?
Okay, I got you.
For my audience that wants to connect with you, how do we find you?
You guys can find me on all things Dwanique Smith Official. That is DWANIQUE Smith, SMITH Official.
Okay.
That is on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, anywhere Dwanique Smith Official.
All right. Now you guys check her out. Dwanique Smith, I want to thank you for being a guest on the Calvary Project podcast this week. Be sure to connect with Dwanique Smith on social media and also check out her music. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so you can get more episodes like this one. And thank you again for listening to the Calvin D Project.